Welcome to the Transfer Exchange Show. I'm your host, Kieron Stewart. And today we're up early. I say early, it's not that early. It's early for us. We're usually on at 8 night on Sunday, but today we're here at 10:30, and we're joined by none other than Sky Sports' Tom White. How you doing, Tom?
Very well. Happy to be here. Nice to meet you both.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Cheers, Tom.
And we're here to talk about Sunderland today.
My specialist subject, sadly.
We all have our guilty pleasures. I won't mention mine right now because otherwise I'll go on a rant for about an hour. So it's your time now. You got a cup final today against Tranmere. Should be a big game at 3:00. You nervous?
Actually, strangely, I'm not. Going into every Sunderland game, I'm a nightmare. I don't want anyone around me before kickoff. Yeah. At the moment, not being able to go at the games means that I don't want anyone around me. I want to be in a room on my own watching the game. And if we lose, I want my phone off. I just want... I'm devastated. When we win, everything's fine. When we lose, I'm devastated. This one, it's so nice to actually have a game where obviously we want to win, but the Papa John's Trophy final is not the be-all and end-all. It's just a bonus. It's on TV. It's a game that we can strangely relax and enjoy. And if we lose, I won't be happy, but it's not going to ruin the rest of my day like it would do for league games. So strangely, no nerves. But if it's a league game, I'm a nightmare.
There's bigger and better things, but it'll be nice. It'll be a nice cherry on the top.
Right, it's still a trophy, and we haven't won at Wembley since 1973. Yeah. So it would be nice to end that just in case we get to the playoff final.
Yeah, old enough to remember it well. Old enough to remember that final well.
Good practice then. So where did your love of Sunderland come from? Was it a family thing?
Yes, it's very simple. As far as I'm concerned, it's not just a Northeast thing, but in the Northeast, if your two parents support the same, if they both like football and they support the same club, you are told that you support that club. You don't realise until you're older and it's too late that actually you do have a choice. But at that age, you don't know. So my mum and dad, both big football fans, both big Sunderland fans. My mum's side and my dad's side are all Sunderland fans. So very simple, me and my sister. That's your name. That's who you support. You can't change that.
That's fair enough. We do the same down here, but there's a little bit more attitude, and they sometimes they go astray. But I've made sure that mine they're stuck with Arsenal. So when was your first game? When did you first get a taste of Sunderland?
Well, strangely, the first game I went to was actually a Newcastle game at St James's Park. Cool. My two godfathers, one of them is a family member, so he supports Sunderland. The other one is a Newcastle fan. He's been a season ticket holder for forever, for all of my life. And I didn't realise he was doing this at the time, but I think he thought, you know what, I wonder if I can turn Tom into a Newcastle fan. So he took
dangerous.
This was sort of late 1990. So Newcastle were in what is now the Championship, and Sunderland were, funnily enough, in what is now the Premier League, back then, Division 1 and Division 2. And Newcastle won 2-1. Mick Quinn scored twice, although he reminds me every time I see him that he had a hat-trick that day, but his third goal was wrongly ruled out. John Burridge made a mistake for Portsmouth to make it, for Newcastle, so that Portsmouth made it 2-1, but Newcastle won. And all the way through that game and afterwards, you know, my godfather and his friends were saying, so Tommy, do you think you're going to be a Newcastle fan now? And even that, I didn't really understand. I was like, well, no, I support Sunderland. You know, It was like them saying, Tommy, you're going to change your name now. And then my other godfather, he, a couple of months later, pulled his finger out. And New Year's Day 1991 took me to Roker Park. Yeah. We didn't win many games that season. We got relegated, which has become a theme in my my supporting. But on that day, we won. Yeah, we won 1-0 against Southampton. It was a Kevin Ball, who was my absolute hero. He scored a penalty Matt Letizia had a long-range effort in stoppage time, which thankfully Tony Norman saved. But Sunderland won it 1-0 New Year's Day 1991, and I'd like to say since then I never looked back. I didn't even look back before I even went. You know, I was Sunderland through and through without realising I had a choice.
Yeah. So when you finally got into the Premier League, you had strikers there such as Kevin Phillips and Niall Quinn. Who's your favourite players from Sunderland from any era?
Yeah, those two are certainly up there. But for me, it's always the hard men that I like, because when I still play football, but never ever to a high standard at all. You know, at the moment it's Sunday League, but I can pass. I've had in the past relative amount of pace. I could finish. So it wasn't the strikers or the flair players or the tidy passes of the ball that impressed me. What I couldn't do was, like, if there was a 50-50 challenge, I'm not going in for it. Right? the ball's in the air, I'm looking around hoping someone else is going to head it. Right? I might pretend to challenge for it, but I'm actually not challenging for it. From a goal kick, the ball's coming to my head and there's no one else around me, so I have to head it. Right?
You're exposing yourself.
Yeah,
you're exposing yourself for the rest of the season when it comes to playing Sunday League again.
It doesn't take much to expose me. Watch me for 10 seconds and everyone can see. So it was always the hard men that I liked. So Kevin Ball, who was our captain, he's still at the club and he has got an official title, but it's more of an ambassadorial role now. He has been our caretaker manager twice. Love him because he was the opposite of how I've just described myself as a player. We had a right back called John Kay. And I was at a game once. We won 1-0 at home to Birmingham at Roker Park, and he broke his leg. He tried to run it off, right? Run off a broken leg. So they eventually got him on the stretcher, and he got on the stretcher with a broken leg. So you imagine the pain, and he's sitting up on the stretcher and starts like rowing, as though it was like a canoe or like he wanted to play on.
Absolute warrior.
Yeah, so I love that. And in the more recent years, Wes Brown and Lee Cattermole for the same reason.
Yeah. I was going to say Lee Cattermole is the heart and soul of Sunderland. He's Sunderland through and through, isn't he?
It's funny because the fans loved him because we see him every week. We used to watch him every week, and we felt that he was so underrated, never got the praise he deserved, because outside of Sunderland, he was this, he was a hard man, but he was reckless. He'd always get sent off. That was the view from outside of Sunderland. He went something like 7 seasons without a red card, yet that reputation followed him. Actually, if you watch him play, any defensive midfielder can get the ball and lay it off to someone, short pass, possession, to someone who you'd say, the better players. That's what people say. But Cattermole, what people didn't realise is that he'd get the ball and his passing from range, I don't mean long balls, I mean long passing, was pinpoint. Great accuracy. So he'd win every 50-50. He'd never, ever give up. He had the passion that the Sunderland fans had, even though he's actually from Middlesbrough. He had that passion that the Sunderland fans have. And he was a much better player than anyone gave him credit for outside of Sunderland. But in Sunderland, we knew, and I still believe that if Sam Allardyce hadn't left England after one game, I think Cattermole finally would have had England caps, because Allardyce could see it. Allardyce could see it. No one else could.
I think early doors Cattermole got sort of quite high praise for his technical ability as well. But I think it's what you see of Lee Cattermole is gives that perception, the clenched fist and the puts in a tackle. He's like cheers to the crowd. He's that sort of player, so it can give that perception.
Other fans typecast certain players, and then they're stuck with that for their whole career. I mean, I think he got sent off 6 times, which, when you think about it, in the centre midfield in his whole career, that ain't really a lot, So
yeah, it's true. There was when he first signed, Steve Bruce signed him, but Martin O'Neill took over, and Martin O'Neill he was captain when Martin O'Neill took over. He was, I think, team captain. We had a player called Lorik Sarna who was far more of a hothead than Cattermole was. might have been club captain, or maybe it was Zenden. But anyway, with Cattermole, under O'Neill, he went a few games in a row of getting sent off. And O'Neill kind of called him out on it. And since then, he changed his game, and he couldn't get a look in under Paolo Di Canio because Di Canio just wanted to sell him. Gus Poyet came in, and he was ideal to the way Gus Poyet played, and he got the better of him, best out of him. And from there, Cattermole was just, he finally realised his potential. But the damage seemed to be done for his reputation, and that's why I don't think he got England caps. But Allardyce, who'd managed him, took over as England manager. I think that Cattermole would have got England caps had Allardyce been manager for more than one game of England.
Was you surprised that Lee Cattermole stayed to Sunderland for so long?
I think the reason he didn't leave when I'm saying how good he was because, like I said, no one outside of Sunderland believed how good he was, right? So we kept him for that reason. But when we went down the leagues, he stayed because his wages were still Premier League wages. I think he was on something like, in League One, I think he was still on something like 36 grand a week in League One because he'd got a big contract in the Premier League when he absolutely deserved it. So, and when people outside of Sunderland don't rate him highly enough, they're not going to pay.
They're not going to pay
that.
Yeah.
And other clubs in League One and in the Championship would want him, but would not pay 36 grand a week. So that's why. But he was, in his last season with us, we got the playoff final. We got to the EFL Trophy final, which was at the time called the Checker Trade Trophy final. He actually missed the penalty that meant Portsmouth beat us in that final. But he gave everything. He could have gone, well, I'm a Premier League player. He gave everything. He tried just as hard as he did in the Premier League. Apparently, the younger players looked up to him. He was brilliant with the younger players. So that just makes us love him even more. What a great attitude.
Yeah. Do you think you've got a player there now that could sort of emulate that kind of attitude that he had, or even the style of play that he had?
Well, we've actually, strangely, we've got Grant Ledbetter, who is actually older than him. And he came through the Sunderland Academy, went to Middlesbrough. Even Cattermole came from Middlesbrough, came to Sunderland eventually via Wigan. Ledbetter was the other way. He went to Ipswich, then Middlesbrough, became a hero at Middlesbrough, came back to Sunderland as a Sunderland fan, and he is our club captain. And he is exactly that. But he's actually older than Cattermole, so it's not like somebody's come through the ranks, or we've brought someone in, a younger player who's jumped into his shoes. The person who's jumped into Cattermole's shoes is Ledbetter, who very similar players, very similar careers. And it's him now, and he's in the last year of his contract, but I think he's about 35. But very, very similar. Loves the club, great with the younger players, great ambassador for the club as well. So much so, I was telling you about John Kay, who tried to run off a broken leg. Grant, only about 10 days ago, maybe it's 2.5 weeks. Grant Ledbetter. Oh, in fact, no, it was a week ago. It was a week ago yesterday. It was a week ago Saturday. He fell awkwardly away at Crewe and dislocated his shoulder. He hasn't played since. Because, dislocated shoulder only a couple of weeks ago. He might start today.
Wow, because he wants it.
Been told it needs time to heal, so it could pop out. He might not be in much pain when he's playing, but it could pop out very, very easily unless he has an operation. He wants to play at Wembley. He wants to get Sunderland promoted. Now he's out of contract at the end of the season. If he has an operation at the end of the season,
it's done.
He might never get a club again, and if he does, it might not be till 6 months into the season. He wants to play today. With a dislocated shoulder. All right. So that's exactly the kind of player Sunderland fans love, because that's it's not just something, that is a northeast attitude.
It's what I like.
Die hard attitude.
Yeah.
What does Aidan Mcgeady is a player that, somebody who might not know the First Division too well. Does he bring a lot to Sunderland? Is he important to you?
he's absolutely magic.
It's madness. It's madness.
He went a year without playing for us.
Thought you'd say that.
Yeah,
He was at Charlton.
Yeah, he went on loan to Charlton this time last year, like for the end of last season, but didn't get much of a game because of coronavirus. But he was the previous manager, Phil Parkinson, froze him out for whatever reason. I don't know whether it was behind the scenes or on. Maybe didn't rate him on the pitch. I don't know. So he wasn't playing. Went out on loan to Charlton. Didn't play much. Nobody did. Came back. Was still frozen out. And then Lee Johnson came in and just said, "Well, he's probably our best player. So just play." And I think he's top of the assists charts in the whole of League One. And he didn't play until the start of December, which is incredible. It's just he's absolutely magic. And even though he's not lightning quick like someone like, I mean, if you're talking about Arsenal, he's not like Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I know he's out on loan, but Ainsley Maitland-Niles can just sprint from one end to the other. No one's catching him. Mcgeady can't do that, but Mcgeady is so quick at getting the ball past someone that by the time that defender realises Mcgeady's gone, it doesn't matter that Mcgeady can't run away from him. Mcgeady ends up giving himself a head start with this incredible skill that beats his man, and suddenly he's 5 or 10 yards ahead of the player. So it's not even about his pace. His touch is incredible. His precision on his crosses, and his long-range shots. He strikes so cleanly. He's magic, absolutely magic.
It's his brain, isn't it? When I've watched him, it's his intelligence. It's his positioning, and he seems to know where someone is, before anyone else does on the pitch. And I asked a question because I've just watched him many times, and he's like Tom just said, it's just pure quality. Pure quality. Is he injured today, Tom? Is he injured?
No, he's fit. No, he's fit.
He's fit. Good.
We've got a few key players who are doubts and major doubts, but Mcgeady, he's fit.
Good, yeah. Good.
I actually went and saw Charlton, my local team, so I go down and see him now and again. And Mcgeady was down there at the time, and I was surprised he was at Charlton because he's a quality player. He's Celtic, Spartak Moscow. He's played in Champions League, and he's now playing in League One. And when I saw him the other day playing, you could tell he's still got that quality and that class. And you've also got quite a few experienced players in your squad as well. Still, Danny Graham in your squad. Like, is that helping you move up in the league? Is that experience helping?
Well, Danny Graham actually he retired in January or early February. He was sort of paid up his contract and he decided to retire. So that one, he was with us over 2 spells, and I think he's a really good player. But it just for some reason at Sunderland it didn't work out. I don't on either spell. I don't know why. In his second spell, he wasn't ever first choice. Charlie Wyke's always been first choice. Will Grigg got a few chances before he moved. But the experience does help. Like Mcgeady and Ledbetter are clearly key. And we've got like Tom Flanagan's been in League One for most of his career at the back. We've got a player called Bailey Wright. These players aren't particularly old, but I mean Bailey Wright is a real leader. But some of the younger players, we've got a lad on loan from Wolves called Dion Sanderson. And I was speaking to Sol Bamba last week, and Sol Bamba and him were teammates at Cardiff because Dion Sanderson was from Wolves at Cardiff last season, and those two have stayed good friends. And I said to Sol Bamba, because Sol Bamba was just telling me how much of a lovely person Dion Sanderson is. And I said, as in on the pitch, watching him, I think he might play for England one day, right? And he is, even if he doesn't, the fact that I'm saying that about a player in League One, so important. He's qualified today because he played for Wolves under 23s or under 21s in the tournament earlier, so he can't play. But if you get a chance to, if someone on the TV and you're watching, have a look at him. He's big, tall,
2021.
Big, tall centre back with like kind of big braids. He's like a Rolls Royce of a defender. He's got time on the ball, even as a centre back. Wins every header. He's even scored a goal for us as well last Saturday. But So it's not just the experienced players who've been key for us. It's some of these younger players are really shining.
Yeah, and it's because you're buying in quality as well. I mean, like you said, he's come from the youth development at Wolves, so he's got good pedigree.
Yeah, we've got a player called Jordan Jones as well, who I think he came through Middlesbrough's academy. He's from Middlesbrough geographically, and we've got him on loan from Rangers. And he's got no future at Rangers, it would appear. But he was brilliant for Kilmarnock. He's a Northern Ireland international, and he was, he did well for Rangers. It's just that they signed players who Steven Gerrard believes to be better, which is fine. But nobody saw him as a League One player, and he's not a League One player. So lately, him on one wing and Mcgeady on the other, and no one knows what to do with them. They're having those two in League One on either wing means that you can actually have an extra forward, because you're so good going forward that it sounds strange, because you think if you've got those two players who are so forward thinking, you think, maybe you need an extra defensive player to keep it tight. But actually, so good going forward that you don't actually have to worry about the defence as much, and just let the opposition try to stop them. Yeah. And it's fantastic. And that was good recruitment in January to get him in, albeit only on loan.
I think Charlie White must think it's Christmas every week when he plays, mustn't he? Having those players.
Exactly, and he's been with us now ever since we've been in League One. So 2.5 seasons he's been with us, and he's had injury problems, yes, but he couldn't buy a goal, and he'd been written off. And now, I don't know what's happened. At one game, there was a game, I think it was Doncaster. We won 4-1. He scored 4. All 4 of them were set up by Aidan Mcgeady, right? And that was without Jordan Jones. Now he's got both of them. And it's just, he knows, sometimes a striker knows they're only going to get one chance in a game and they have to take it.
Yeah.
He knows that he's going to get chances with those two in the side.
They was all headers, weren't they, Tom? They was all headers as well. They was all headers. Those goals.
Yeah, they were all headers. And previously, although he's a big, strong player, in the air, he didn't look that good for us. And this season, it's just all completely... I mean, he was scoring goals under Phil Parkinson as well, but I mean, tenfold since Lee Johnson's come in. It's just, it's working, touch wood. I mean, it could all go... I mean, Sunderland fans, we know it could all go wrong. We've had this amazing run. We're still not in the top 2. All right, that shows you how far off we were. So a long way to go, and I actually still don't see us getting automatic promotion. But at the moment, it's a joy to see.
But you'll take a playoff. Like it'll be, there's history, but you'll take a playoff.
Well, I mean, I prefer not to be in the playoffs. So I prefer to be in the playoffs and finishing 7th or 8th. If we can sneak into the top 2, I would be absolutely delighted. But if we can, if we get in the playoffs, I mean, the nerves, I can't take it.
Not again.
You cannot be blamed. You cannot be blamed.
And imagine if Charlton have broken my heart twice in the playoffs. I mean, it could easily happen again.
I was going to say, I watched the game. The game was on Sky the other day. I think 98 playoff final.
98, yes.
Yeah. I couldn't believe how forward Sunderland were, how forward and attacking Charlton were. But I didn't remember Sunderland being that attacking. But they were. They were.
Under Peter Reid. It was you'd have like a flying winger on the left, and you had like Nicky Summerby on the right.
Summerby,
he wasn't a flying winger, but he's crossing.
As well.
If you're crossing, it must help if you're crossing to Niall Quinn, right?
Yeah.
And for Niall Quinn, it must help when you've got someone who's so accurate from the right-hand side putting them in. And that just worked. We always had flying wingers. At the left-hand side, our Mickey Gray at left full-back would attack as well. We were really, even we went up to the Premier League and we'd still play 4-4-2 with the same style. In his 7th 2 seasons row with that style. We were a really attacking team back then. I've not seen us be that attacking since then until now. But the difference is Johnson our manager now, does have a lot of different formations that he's comfortable with using, which can only be a good thing. But I can't take any more playoff heartbreak. I'm definitely going to
What is it that Lee Johnson's done since he's come in?
Well, playing Aidan Mcgeady was a good start. Taking a bit of time to, just like Gus Poyet. Well, actually, no, not Gus Poyet. He was set on a formation, but Sam Allardyce came in with us, and he's, in my opinion, the best manager we've had in my lifetime. Most people say Peter Reid, and that's fine, can't argue. But to me, it's Sam Allardyce. He took time to find his best formation, and once he found that formation and the right players for it, we stayed up because he made it work. I thought that was happening with Lee Johnson, where he was trying these different formations and settled on a formation. So that would have been my answer there. But because of injuries, he's had to play different formations almost in every game, and it's still working. So it's clearly what he's doing on the training pitch. He's clearly drummed it into them. Right, we can play this way, but we can also play that way. And if this happens, we then do that. The players seem to know their jobs, even though the formation and the system changes every week. Every player seems to know what they're doing. And that must be great tactical knowledge, great tactical coaching on the pitch. But there also must be some good man management in there as well, because he has to he probably has to come up to these players and tell them specifically what he wants from them, and they're listening. So he's obviously got their respect as well. So I would say that seems to be the best thing that he's done. But certainly bringing Aidan Mcgeady out from the cold and getting Jordan Jones in, he's found a way to get the best out of Charlie White with that as well. And that is, at the moment, touch wood, that is working.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there a slight worry that it could derail, because you're looking for stability? And it seems to be that you may have found this in Johnson. Is there a slight worry at the back of your mind that it could go wayward?
Well, I'm always worried that when we're doing well, that we're going to throw it away, because that's what Sunderland do. We were in this position years ago. We failed to get automatic promotion and lost in the playoff final. And even last year, we went on this great run, and just before coronavirus hit, we drew twice and lost once. Had we done better in those games, points per game would have put us at least in the playoffs, but probably automatic promotion. So again, not that we could have foreseen what was going to happen, we threw it away. So in that sense, very worried, because I've seen it happen so many times before. In terms of Lee Johnson maybe being poached by a club higher up, a couple of things there. One, it's only happened to Sunderland once. I mean, even when Peter Reid was doing well, no one took him. It did happen with Sam Allardyce because he went to England. That's if England had just beaten Iceland, that wouldn't have happened. And I think we'd be in a amazing position now had that not happened. I mean, Lee Johnson isn't going to go to England, but if any club looking at Lee Johnson, would we be able to say you're best off staying where you are? Well, we've got an amazing stadium, the training, the Academy of Light. I mean, if that's your workplace every day, I can't see why you'd want to leave. The area, I mean, to me, Sunderland is a great city, but he probably lives in Durham, which is just beautiful. I don't know if you've ever been to Durham City or County Durham. What a beautiful county! What a beautiful city! Great place to live. Some of the younger players tend to go to Newcastle, but that's for the nightlife. All right, we'll let them have that. So could we keep him in that sense? Yes. Will he be backed? Well, we have a new owner who is a billionaire. So will he be? Have we got the financial backing to say to him, you are going to have money to spend if you can get us into the Championship? Have we got the ambition to say, if we get in the Championship, we want you to get us into the Premier League? Yes, we probably do now. So I would be confident keeping him unless a Premier League club came in for him, and I can't see that. I don't think we lose him even to a club top end of the Championship. I don't think we lose him.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I feel like it's very secure, but I'd be more worried about everything going wrong and him ending up not being the right man. I hope that's not the case. I'm more worried about us failing than us doing so well and losing.
It's a very difficult league, isn't it? It's a very difficult league. I mean, I was thinking about what you just said about Lee Johnson, Tom. I mean, from first at the top, you got Hull to 15th is 20 points. I mean, in the Premiership, you got that gap between first and second. I mean, and there's some massive clubs in Football League One. I mean, how difficult is it, Tom, to get out of it? Is it hard?
Yeah, it's been proved how hard it is because 2 seasons ago we had Lee Cattermole, we had Brian Oviedo, who was still on £42 a week. We had Duncan Watmore, who before his injuries was on the fringes of the England squad. You know, he was being looked at by Roy Hodgson at the time, who was England manager. We had a squad of players, some of which could still do it in the Premier League, and we still didn't get promoted. Yeah. We finished. I think we actually ended up finishing 5th because we lost the final game against Southend and finished 5th. We didn't get automatic promotion. We didn't even get promotion from the playoffs. That shows how hard it is. Last season didn't go our way. Last season we weren't good enough, and this season the run we're on is incredible, and we're still not in the top. That proves how hard it is. And I have actually quite enjoyed being in League One, but I don't want to be here any longer. I want to be here. I want to have one season, really enjoy it, and go up. This is the 3rd season, and I am still enjoying it, and especially when we're able to go to the games. I'm going to grounds I've never been to because I love away games. I would go to every single Sunderland away game. If it weren't for work, I'd go to every single Sunderland away game. And some of the grounds it's great. They're proper football grounds. Pubs in close proximity, pubs that welcome the away fans, you know, because they want the trade as opposed to they're worried about trouble. The ground, Wickham away, Wickham's very close to where I live. They were so accommodating. Not only, they gave us half the stadium for a start because they knew they'd make money. They put on this sort of a marquee in the car park and just had loads of staff on so that fans didn't have to go to the pubs in the town because it's quite, it's a bit of a trek from the town to the ground. So had this big marquee. They made sure there were loads of staff, so the pints were ready. They could make money because they knew Sunderland fans were going to come, weren't going to cause trouble, and it was actually going to be a good day for them as a business. But also, what an atmosphere when the away fans take up half the ground. And But I want to get back to the Championship now because the Championship's my favourite league. I know, you won't know as an Arsenal fan because you've been in the Premier League in the top flight. But who do you support, Steve?
Arsenal, Tom.
We're both Arsenal, right? See, to me, it's different for Arsenal because you're in the Premier League, but you've always got European games. You go far in domestic competitions. As Arsenal fans, you have a lot of games to look forward to. In the Premier League, as a Sunderland fan or a Newcastle fan, even these days, didn't used to be a Newcastle fan. Brighton are about to play, aren't they? Brighton against Southampton. Those 2 clubs as well. They only have 38 games to look forward to. They're unlikely to go far in the domestic competition, so you can't really them. And they play weaker teams because they're so desperate to stay in the Premier League. They're not in Europe. As a fan, only having 19 home games to look forward to is and when there's international breaks and FA Cup breaks, you might go 2 or 3 weeks without being able to see your team play. What do you do? It's horrible. And
I don't think about that.
Yeah,
spoiled.
So you've got all these games. League One, I feel like that's too low for Sunderland. And although the history, I think we probably do belong in the top 20 English clubs, probably. So I think we do belong in the Premier League. But I don't miss the Premier League because you're twiddling your thumbs a lot of the time. Whereas in the Championship, you're close to the Premier League, but you've still got 46 games to look forward to. as opposed to just the 38. You've got games to watch midweek like you do in Europe. I don't miss the Premier League at all. I'm not saying that one day, getting promoted from the Championship would be something to celebrate. It would be fantastic. But I actually miss the Championship more than I miss the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean we've taken me and Kieron have got a love for non-league, for the non-league, and we talk to a lot of players, a lot of managers, and we hope to go to a lot of games. But over the last year, we've seen the difference between what the non-league is and what the Premiership is, and I mean exactly what you said. People who just got their eye on the Premiership should have a look more down the line and start watching some football, start going to some games, because the fans, the passion, I don't know, sometimes you could say it's higher than the Premiership, and that's what football's all about. It's different.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm talking there about EFL, but in terms of non-league, I mean, I live in a place called Bracknell, which is near Reading, and I go and watch Bracknell Town, and it's great facilities. Right, they've got a bar, they've got a diner, they've got the burger vans as well outside. You can have a cheap pint while you're watching the game. You're supporting your local club. You're putting money into the community by doing that. But also, the football on display is good.
Yeah,
it can be good. They play with an artificial surface, right? Which, all right, we don't like that in professional football. But in non-league, it means the game's on. All right, it's not going to. It can only be off with snow, because clearing the snow with shovels can cause damage to the synthetic turf. So it's on in rain. It's on in every sort of every sort of weather, pretty much. So you're going to be able to watch a game of football, and there's a real community spirit. You've got whole families there. The kids might be kicking a football around on the side, while their parents are both watching the game. And you might just, if there's a lull in the game, you're chatting to people, local people, getting to know them. Non-league is brilliant.
You can't beat it. Yeah, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I'm from a town called Alnwick in Northumberland. I've been an ambassador for Alnwick Town. Just don't like the fact that they wear black and white. That's Newcastle. But I couldn't agree more with you about non-league football. It is if people are thinking, I can't afford to go to a game this weekend, or if it's an international break, FA Cup weekend, and you're not in it, go to a non-league game, right? You will get hooked. It's brilliant. Couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah, we were saying we had Lee Allenson on, and we was just saying when we do get to go out, don't just go to your Premier League teams, go to your local teams, because they're going to need your help once we start getting back into this.
Yeah, we had a couple of the guys in from the FA Cup, from Marine. And from Stockport, Weymouth, and when they play, they came on after their matches against Tottenham and West Ham, and to listen to them and to listen to their passion, it's totally different from when you listen to someone who plays for Arsenal or Manchester United or Chelsea, and it gives you them goose pimples, and it makes you want to go and watch them and support them. So. Yeah,
it's pure love for the game. It's pure love for the game. Like us as fans, we have pure love for the game. It costs us a fortune to support our teams, right? And sometimes, I think most professional players have, are as passionate. I believe that. But when you at your club, when you've got someone who you think disrespecting you as fans, don't show that same love. You just can't. We can't understand that, and we will never forgive it. All right. If someone shows disrespect to the fans, and that's not happening in non-league, those players are like us.
Yeah. They don't. It's a different sort of support as well. You don't get the same sort of abuse that you might get from. The referee does. The referee does. The referee does. The referee gets it for the players as well.
I don't know why they do it. Honestly, I'm sometimes sitting there and thinking, I'm looking around at shouting abuse at the ref who hasn't done anything wrong. It's just their ritual is to shout at the ref. I'm like, what are you doing? I hate that when I'm playing and never say a word to the ref, because I just think it's like, I'm I think it's because I'm a mental health first aider, so I'm very much like you abuse something. Maybe if you've got road rage or something, you abuse something. You don't know what's going on in their life, so you don't know what that is doing to them. All right, so I don't like it, but it is quite. It's kind of quite eye-opening to hear that at the non-league, the abuse the referee and linos get. But the difference is at that level, the referees and linos give it back.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
If they're giving it back, I don't mind that. I don't like it. One way abuse, I don't like it. When they're giving it back, I tend to be on the referee's side as well in those situations.
They can handle themselves. You said that Sam Allardyce was your favourite manager. Was that your favourite team? What was it that made him your favourite manager?
I think the favourite team was probably under Peter Reid, just because it was so attacking, and Kevin Phillips won the Golden Boot in the whole of Europe.
Yeah,
playing for Sunderland.
32 goals or something. 33 goals.
In my head, I've got 35.
I was 35.
35, but I'm not certain. It might have been 35 when getting promoted from the Championship, and 30 in the Premier League. Actually, maybe.
They were formidable, that partnership.
Oh, it worked so well, and it's funny because I'm very proud to call Kevin Phillips a friend now, and I've not spoken to Niall Quinn for a few years, but me and him got on very, very well. And speaking to them both about it, they didn't work on it in training. It just happened. Peter Reid put them up front together because Peter Reid liked big man, small man, right? Big man with pace, small man with pace. He always liked that, and if they didn't play, he'd play Danny Dicio and Michael Bridges. So he had those was 4 strikers for the same reason, and they didn't work on it. It's not like they said, "Oh yeah, you do that and I'll do this." Kevin Phillips is like, well, if I knew the ball was going to Niall Quinn, I knew he was going to win it. All I need to do was find some space. If I found the space, I knew that Niall was going to find me.
Yeah.
So that was my favourite team. That side that came 7th two seasons in a row was so entertaining. But Allardyce is my favourite manager because I get slated for this, and I take it and I argue back. In my opinion, with the exception of managers who have, if you take away every manager that have won the Premier League, all right, because I'm never going to win an argument against someone like Sir Alex Ferguson or Arsene Wenger with this, but I believe that taking away anyone who's won the Premier League, Sam Allardyce is the best manager in Premier League history. I believe that, right, because he's never failed. Okay. It's not working at West Brom, so my timing's bad, right?
It's a poison chalice, that one there.
That's an hard job.
Yeah, he's not going to win. I'm not going to win that battle talking about Sir Alex Ferguson or Arsene Wenger. Also, Carlo Ancelotti. I'm a huge fan of Carlo Ancelotti, and he has won the Premier League. I believe that I could argue that Sam Allardyce is better than Manuel Pellegrini, who's won the Premier League. I might lose against Mancini because of what he's done elsewhere, but of managers who haven't won the Premier League, I think Sam Allardyce is the best. What he did at Bolton was amazing.
Unreal.
When he got sacked from Blackburn, worst decision they've made in their history.
Yeah.
What he did for us, I mean, we were down. What a job he did for us, and we still shivers down our spine.
Yeah,
seeing that winning goal for Iceland against England, not because none of us wanted to see England go out of the tournament, but because that goal meant that we lost Sam Allardyce, and we are where we are now because we lost Sam Allardyce. I truly believe that, and he was doing. I thought he was doing well at Newcastle. Newcastle fans weren't keen on him, and also it was the previous owner appointed him. New owner comes in and changed it. I thought he was doing all right, and they got relegated 18 months later. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
And Palace and Everton, they were going. I mean, they wouldn't have gone down, but they were down near the relegation zone. They finished 8th.
Palace, he did a really good job. Palace.
Yeah, and he got terrible. I mean, I'm from the East End of London, and half of my family's West Ham supporters. and he got terrible stick from West Ham fans, and I never knew, and I never knew why, and I could never know why. I didn't know what they wanted from him. I didn't know what they expected. Did they want Champions League? Well, maybe now, but at the time, I didn't know what they wanted, and I think he got some very unfair, comments from people. Yeah.
But the thing is, with Sam Allardyce there, they don't you think they were the same with David Moyes, where they didn't really want David Moyes. It was like, I do a job for now, and now it's like you've got the right manager. He might not be what you wanted, but he's the right guy for the job.
Yeah, with Allardyce at West Ham, I guess when you're not a West Ham fan, and we're not, we can't understand why Sam Allardyce wasn't liked, let alone why he wasn't loved. So I guess a West Ham fan would have to explain that one to us. But with Moyes, Moyes, he is doing well at West Ham. I can't deny that, but I certainly am not a huge fan of his for what he did at Sunderland. He was very, very. He was really poor at Sunderland. Really,
he was the manager that went down in the end, wasn't he?
He was, but there was so much to dislike about his reign in charge of Sunderland, and I'm happy. It's nice to see West Ham doing well, and I'm not just going to suddenly say David Moyes is a dreadful manager. He doesn't deserve this success. I don't believe it. I can't believe he's had 2 more chances in the Premier League since he's left us. But he is doing well, so fair play. But everyone seemed to turn a blind eye to how badly he did at Sunderland. Everybody seemed to blame things. Everyone seemed to blame the owner, who wasn't perfect. People seemed to blame what he inherited. Blamed the culture at the club when he was very, very poor for us and wasted
West Ham wanted to play a certain type of football, and they just didn't like the way Sam Allardyce was playing football. But it kept them up. But I don't think if they played in the other way.
It's interesting because at Sunderland he actually played really good football, and I understand that people say that they don't associate Allardyce with that, but when we'd get the fullbacks would bomb on. He had 3 forwards, one of which was Jermaine Defoe, by the way, and they were dangerous. And he had 3 in midfield who, on paper, were quite defensive, but they'd get the ball, and every single time they got the ball, they looked forward and they passed the ball forwards. And we were going. We weren't going from defence to attack with a long ball. We were going from defence to attack quickly, with a precise pass into feet to one of the wingers or Jermaine Defoe. And that style of play was brilliant. It was really, really good for us in terms of his style of play, but I know that it maybe wasn't so much so at West Ham.
Where do you think it went wrong for Sunderland in terms of dropping down in the Premier League? Because you say it was probably more at the end, like David Moyes was the final nail in the coffin. But where do you think it kind of turned with like maybe as you said, the mentality of the players, which people blamed it on, the culture? Where do you think that would have come from?
Well, I think one of the issues, we had an owner at the time, a billionaire from Texas called Ellis Short, and his intentions were great. He wanted to get Sunderland to the top, and he pumped in a lot of money. He gets a lot of abuse, but we cannot deny his intentions were good, and he put his money where his mouth was. The problem was the people spending the money we were buying players for a lot of money, and 3 or 4 years later we were letting them go for free because it hadn't worked out. So the recruitment was a problem for a long time. So that had been going on for a long time, right? But this is something you probably don't know. When I talk about when David Moyes took over, we as fans were thinking, well, we've lost Sam Allardyce. This is actually a good appointment. All right. We want Allardyce, but Moyes will do well for us. We were happy. Right. When I say about the bad recruitment, he broke our club transfer record on a player called Didier Ndong for £13.6 million, right? How much do you think? I'm going to do this for a few players, all right? How much did Didier Ndong go for when he left?
Ndong?
I think it's obviously going to be quite low.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 mil.
4 mil.
He was sacked for his unprofessional conduct. Right.
What?
Okay. So he was sacked. So it probably cost us money. I'm going to give you another name, Papi Gilabodji. He'd played 1 minute. Chelsea signed him for £4 million. He played 1 minute for Chelsea, and David Moyes spent 8 million on him. How on earth does his price double when he played 1 minute for Chelsea? Right, £8 million. £8 million. How much did he go for?
Million.
A mil. Yeah, I was going to say a mil.
Sacked for unprofessional behaviour.
Oh.
What? So they're not doing their due diligence on these players.
Okay. Yeah. Then we had Darren Gibson. Now he caught, I think it was 7.5 million for him and Oviedo. Okay, so I'm not sure how it broke. Not sure how it broke down. Okay, but Darren Gibson, former Manchester United, signed him from Everton. How much do you think he went for?
Did he go on a free?
Sacked for unprofessional behaviour.
Don't say unprofessional behaviour. Don't say it.
Sacked for drink driving.
Oh.
Okay. We also had he signed Donald Love from Manchester United. Him and Paddy McNair were £5 million together. Now, fair enough, we made our money back with Paddy McNair, but Donald Love, we had to pay up his contract with a year to go because he wasn't going to get a game. He wasn't good enough. All right, so we spent a few million on him and had to pay him to go. While all of this was going on, we had a player desperate to sign for us who we had on loan the season before called Jan Mvila. Now, he was out of contract.
Yeah. Good player.
He was going to be out of contract in 6 months' time. So David Moyes refused to spend 6 million to buy him now. Instead said, we'll sign him free in 6 months, which, okay, I can see the reasoning behind that, okay? But this guy, we knew how good he was. He was a 20 million player available for 6 million, right? So instead he signed Ndong for 13.6 million. If he'd signed Jan Mvila for 6 million, the minute he signed that contract, he'd be worth 20. Right, so that would be signing players whose value is going to go up, which Sunderland just don't do. Right, said no to Mvila when we could have had him for free in 6 months. We looked like we were already relegated, so Mvila said no, thank you, and fair enough.
Unbelievable.
Under Moyes, and he signed ex-players who were, he signed his ex-player Stephen Pienaar for free, who looked like he was running on sand. He signed Julian Lescott for free, who played something like 45 minutes, and he will have given him decent contract. He signed Victor Anichebe for free, who actually played well for us, but everyone knew how injury prone he was. Because he was injured, and that is so. Our recruitment for years was throw money at it. Eventually, they'll go for free. Like even before David Moyes, we spent £10 million on Jack Rodwell. And Jack Rodwell, we had to pay him to leave. Okay, that's been happening for a while. But under Moyes, it was as though he didn't want to do all the hard work in signing the right player. He just threw money at players that I don't see how he knew much about them, and they did not.
It looked like he's taken players that he probably would have managed when he was his time at Man United. Probably would have seen it for coming through the youth. Everton as well, and when the majority of the players that were coming in from Everton or they weren't up to it. Like as you said, Stephen Pienaar, he was way gone by the time he went to Sunderland. But I look back at when you had the likes of Darren Bent and Guyan Asamoah and that strike force, and thinking that Sunderland were moving then, and then out of nowhere. Asamoah, top goal scorer, then he goes. And I think he went to Qatar. Yeah,
I think it's Al Ain, I think he went to. But we had with Darren Bent Darren Bent would have a statue with us for now if he'd stayed. But he went, and there's two sides to every story. Darren Bent's side of the story is very different to Sunderland's side of the story. But either way, it was portrayed that he had handed in a transfer request when he was becoming a Sunderland legend. He handed in a transfer request to go to a club who were pretty much the same place as in the table in Aston Villa. So he kind of ruined his legacy with that. albeit his story is very different, and that's fair enough. There are two sides to every story, but he was amazing for us. Asamoah Gyan was doing really well, and he turned up one day to training in pre-season training and said, I'm going to leave, I'm going to Al Ain in wherever it is. I'm actually not exactly certain what league they play in. And it was like, Sunderland were left with no choice. So they had to, we'd spent 12 million or 13, and we loaned him for half of that, and then they paid the other half when he eventually went permanent. So we only made our money back. We didn't actually even make a profit on someone who was doing really well for us. That was the kind of transfer business we did. We had a player called Lorik Sana, who we signed, might have signed him from Marseille. And he did really well for us for a season. I'm sure he was either team captain or club captain. And we loved him. He turned up to pre-season without his tracksuit on, in his own clothes, and just said, I've organised a deal for me to leave to Galatasaray because I want to be near my family. Okay, fair enough. But we've signed you for $5.5 million. We think, you're worth double that. We sold him for what we paid for him. It doesn't make sense. Okay, you can go, but you are worth this money. You don't set the fee. Your agent doesn't set the fee. Even the buying team doesn't set the fee. We set the fee, and that we seemed a bit of a pushover even when our players were good.
Yeah. Do you think that could be a bit of a problem, that players might see joining Sunderland as not an easy ride, but they might think, okay, Sunderland will go back up. We've not got to work as hard as maybe these teams. We're going to get good money, good facilities, and the League One's a bit of a shock for them, or they're just, like you said, Sunderland aren't buying the right players.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, in the Premier League, that was a big problem. People were coming to Sunderland because there is a mentality. I mean, when you're from the Northeast, you can't understand why anyone would want to live anywhere else. Okay, and it's probably the same. I mean, if you think most places in Scotland, you have the same attitude as well. So why on earth would you want to live anywhere else?
Yeah.
I'm now in the South. I still think I want to be at home, and I want to live at home because I love it up there so much. Yeah. But a lot of we have to accept that is not the attitude of most people, and that is absolutely fine. And a lot of these young players, and as Roy Keane would say, their wives, they want to be in London or cities that are deemed to be more fashionable in their minds. Okay, so to get these players to Sunderland, all you can do is pay them more money. If that player chooses for the money, if that player is motivated by the money, that player is motivated by the football, and straight away that should set alarm bells. And I think now that will set alarm bells ringing, because we should have learned our lessons. Back then, it was like, the manager wants this player, let's get this player, even if it means paying him that. And that caused that, if you're there for the money rather than because you've been sold the club, that created a big problem. And if we ever get back to the Premier League, or even if we can get into the Championship, we've got to learn that lesson. If a player says, I don't want to sign, don't throw more money at them. That should be enough. Okay, fine. And I think Roy Keane did that. Leighton Baines, we had a bid for Leighton Baines. We were desperate to sign him, but Leighton Baines said, look, I'm an Everton fan and Everton want me. Roy Keane said, fair enough, I'll turn my attentions elsewhere, which might infuriate some fans because they might say, no, just pay him more. Now, Roy Keane was right. He was also right with David Nugent. We tried so hard to sign David Nugent. David Nugent was an Everton fan, and his agent, well, sorry, maybe not his agent, he was being told that Everton wanted him. Everton couldn't agree a fee, but he'd said to someone, look, I'm holding out for Everton. Roy Keane, fair enough, we'll turn our attentions elsewhere. And that is a better attitude, because we get a better attitude of player who wants to be at the club. They're not going to go to your club because you'll pay them an extra 10 grand a week.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, Tom. I mean, Sunderland, to me, are a Premier League side, and I think to most people they are. I mean, you spent like 10 seasons all in a row in the Premier League, and then you had that little couple of seasons gap, which has put you where you are now. Which, one of my questions was why, and you've answered it. and having the right players with the right attitude. Do you feel that now you've got the players with the right attitude, with the youth that you've got, that you can come back to the Premiership with them, or does it need more?
Well, yes, since we've been in League One, players have. In League One, we should never lose out to anyone for a player, right? Because of our stadium, because of our fan base. I mean, in League One, remember, 2 seasons ago in League One, we were averaging 32,000 a week in League One. Okay. Last season, I think it went down to 29, but the fans weren't particularly happy with the manager, right? But in League One, 29, right? That is going to attract players. The ground is going to attract players. I've talked about the Academy Light. If that's your workplace as a player, you are happy in League One. If we match the wages of anyone else in League One, you should be choosing Sunderland because of all those things, right? So the players who've come in since we've been in League One have tended to have a very, very hard-working, good attitude. A player called Luke O'Nien that we brought in from Wickham, and he's a good player. He's a good player, and I think he'd hold his own in the Championship. He's versatile, but he gives it his all. His attitude is exactly what the Sunderland fans like, and that seems to be the kind of player that we are now going for. Max Power, who we brought in, he's now captain because of that attitude. We brought Grant Ledbetter back because of that attitude, and the players, rather than in the Premier League, players thinking don't really want to go there, but they're offering a lot of money. In League One, it's like, what? Sunderland are in for me.
Yeah.
Get me a move. I spoke to
a
striker who was, I'll not say his name because Sunderland in the end didn't go in for him, but I spoke to him saying, there's rumours that you're coming to Sunderland. And he went, really? Like, he was like,
get on to his agent.
He was like, make it happen. This guy is playing for a very good club and scoring goals, and he was scoring even more goals at the time. And he would have been very settled where he was. He was, the fans loved him. He was at a good club. But the thought of him being at Sunderland in League One, it was like, what? Because what more of an opportunity are you going to get to be at a club this size when you are a League One player?
Yeah.
And a lot of the side at the moment, I mean, some of the best players are on loan, like Jordan Jones and Dion Sanderson. But if we can get promoted to the Championship, these players who maybe see themselves as League One players will suddenly be Championship players. And I'm sure that they will get a chance in the Championship. I don't think many of the current squad could do it in the Premier League, although I think Dion Sanderson can. Like I've said, I think he can play for England. But Championship, certainly, I think they could hold their own.
Yeah. Before we go, Tom, one more question. Do you kind of see comparisons to maybe like a Leeds, Man City and a Leicester where you can get back up and you've hit the reset button and you could slowly build and get back up to the Premier League and do that?
There are a lot of similarities between Manchester City and Sunderland in terms of a few reasons. One is the fans. Man City fans, just like Leeds fans did as well, they kept coming in League One. Right, in the third tier, they kept coming. Right, Sunderland fans and Manchester City fans have always respected each other for that reason. Actually, they've always seen similarities, but also Manchester City, for a long, long time, it was always like, oh yeah, Manchester United are up here, Manchester City are there, whereas actually they wouldn't see it that way. Sometimes, because in my lifetime, Newcastle have been in the Champions League, they've nearly won the Premier League, and I always defend their fans when people say Newcastle fans are deluded. I say that's actually not right because they've come so close to glory. Yeah, it's fair enough that their ambitions are up there. I don't mind that. Now, in terms of club size, Sunderland and Newcastle is exactly the same. Right? Exactly the same. The stadium's similar. Our training ground's better. Our history really, really similar. We can't win in the argument at the moment because there's 2 leagues difference. So we can't win the argument, but we are the same, right? Whereas there is, because Newcastle have been in Europe and stuff, sometimes people from outside will see Newcastle as a bit above Sunderland in terms of the size of the club. And that is a little bit like Manchester City and Manchester United. So again, makes us similar to Manchester City. And it also makes it similar to Everton, by the way. Everton fans and Sunderland fans get on very well for the same reasons that I've told you. Mm-hmm. But in terms of getting back up to the Premier League, I hope we're not like Leeds, because that took ages. I hope it's not Nottingham Forest, who are a huge club, because that still hasn't happened yet. Sheffield United, that took a long, long time. I hope it's more like Manchester City, and we actually do have the billionaire owner now. The Manchester City, I guess, gives us some hope, but there are definite similarities in terms of that they are huge clubs who have been in League One, and the fans have still come. That makes you actually very, very proud of your club.
Yeah.
Things are looking up then, Tom, though, aren't they? Things look like they're looking up for Sunderland everywhere, don't they, at the moment? You know, league position, training ground, players. So it's all good.
Touch wood.
And a massive game today. Massive game today.
Massive game today. But like I say, this is one to just enjoy. You know, this is. I'm not going to be pacing around the living room like, you know, head in hands. It's going to be relaxed. This one, desperate to win, but I'm feeling a lot more relaxed.
All right, let's hope you enjoy it. And Tom, thank you so much for coming on today.
Cheers,
brilliant
mate.
Chat about Sunderland. Didn't get half the questions I wanted to get in, but it just shows that we had a good chat about Sunderland.
Once you get me talking about Sunderland, I don't shut up.
No, we'd love to have you on again. I'm sure there's plenty more we can speak about.
Yeah, anytime. My pleasure, lads.
Thanks, all right, thank you very much for coming on, Tom.
Cheers. Good luck today.
Good luck staying in the final.
Thank you. Good luck to Arsenal in the derby. You know, you got a bigger game than us.
Yeah. We need it.
Tom, I will be behind the sofa.
Yeah, well, a good friend of mine and colleague. I don't know if you can picture Julian Waters, who's a presenter on Sky Sports News.
Yeah.
Best man in the world. I love him. He's best presenter as well. But amazing knowledge of football, big Arsenal fan, season ticket holder. He's taken me to a game at the Emirates before, actually. What a stadium. I've been there a couple of times, actually. I've been there once. Lovely man. And I was speaking to him last night, and he was supposed to be off so he could watch the game at home. And he's been called into work because someone's had their wisdom. He is so, and I know it's like he's so nervous. I know how he feels. It's so nervous.
Yeah.
I've got no affiliation to either Arsenal or Tottenham, but for your sake and for his sake, I hope you get a positive result.
Yeah, cheers, so do I, because it's not one we can enjoy either. It's not an enjoyable one. It's just get the result.
I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks again, Tom.
Again, good luck today. Thanks for coming on again.
See you, lads.
Right.
Cheers,
Tom.
Bye. Thanks, mate. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for Tom White coming on. Brilliant chat we had there about Sunderland. Don't forget, we've got our show later on tonight at 8:00. Same channel with Craig Rocastle, Football Chelsea, Kansas City, Sheffield Wednesday, Welling, Ebbsfleet. It's a local boy. We've got plenty to catch up on. So make sure you catch us tonight. Yep. Also got the North London derby. We'll be covering that, and we'll have Roshan Thomas of The Athletic and Nathan Elton on to speak about the West Ham and Man United game. Thanks for joining us this morning. Peace out. Stay safe and wash your hands.
Enjoy.